Hey everybody, it's Alexander Williamson here with The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. No, your aquarium. Your aquarium. Your aquarium. My aquarium. How's everybody doing? We'll wait for folks to trickle on in. We'll let the floodgates release here and see what is cracking. So I hope everybody's doing good today. Let's see here. We'll wait until a couple people pop in. Let me try to pull up all the info on who's in here. But today I wanted to mention a couple things about the aquascaping contest. That's Ahmed, hello, welcome. I wanted to mention a couple things about that. Steven, hello. How you doing, buddy? Want to mention that, and then Sam, darling, howdy, hello there, hi, hey, well, and I also figured I'd show you guys I got some new fish, and I got a new aquarium. Was on sale. It happened to be the anniversary of a shop I used to work at that's focused on aquascaping, and I just couldn't turn down this offer, even though I don't have the money to set the whole thing up right now, but I'll show you that, and it should be some fun. And I want to tell you guys about a little bit about my future plans, but then today is also just an open discussion for you guys. So if anybody has questions or concerns, comments about anything, anything aquarium related, anything other than my teeth, I will be getting dentures soon. Finally, 3 years after all of the crazy lightning madness. It's time. And I know my tongue's bright orange because I was eating candy corn, which I'm sure is great for my teeth anyways. But in any case, how is everybody doing? Chris, Nigel, Clay, I see folks filtering in. I know this isn't the normal time, the normal place, but I wanted to do a stream this weekend. And you know what's kind of fun is I just found out that I will be also I will be popping over to my buddy Lawrence Kent's house. He's going to be speaking with me on Fishtoberfest in October, and then he'll also be on Aquarium Co-op's channel speaking for their online fish club thing. But I'll be over at his house. He just had knee surgery, and I'm going to bring him some feeder fish and some stuff like that. And basically, he's gone all around the world and collected species from everywhere you can imagine, and some places you can't. I mean, like, he has gone to the most war-torn regions and notoriously collected there. So I'd like to hopefully I can get him to talk about that. He's kind of modest about that stuff, in particular. Like, he's just like, oh, it's not a big deal, you know. Yeah, oh yeah, we were held at gunpoint for 4 days until we got this guy to vouch for us who I knew 30 years ago. Like, just crazy experiences. So in any case, that should be fun, and there should be some cool fish that probably, well, for sure, some people have never seen before because they're new to science. So that should be a fun little video. It probably won't be a live stream, but I guess there is an off chance that we'll do a live stream. Also, the owner of the wet shop, or one of the owners, will be up there, and so I'm going to be meeting and chatting with him as well, who I've never actually really talked to the wife of the owner, who's also involved in the business heavily too, but she does more like PR and stuff like that. So all right, well, let's just I do not have any rainbow shiners at the moment, Ghazi, but I do have a history with them, and actually Lawrence has my rainbow shiners. He's been spawning them at his house, I believe. I gave him them when I was just like, yeah, I'm out of room for them. You know what? I feel silly because my headphones are on and I never plug in the audio. Let me know how that sounds, if that still works okay. All right, Melissa Turner, what's going on? I see Hillbilly Aquatics, Felipe, what's up? Good to see folks trickling in, even though I know it's not an expected time. It's not that same damn time, same damn place. Would you consider them beginner fish? Yeah, they're easy enough. You just don't want to overheat them. So if you live somewhere really hot, they could be tricky because they would probably need a cooler, like a chiller in the tank. But if you live anywhere where it's, you know, 28 Celsius or so up to 31 or 32 Celsius, in the room at the peak, that should be fine. Otherwise, you'll need AC for sure. The max they're gonna want is like about 29 to 30. I would say is their max heat Celsius, or about, you know, maybe 80 degrees, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, hello natural aquariums. So I'm happy to say that I've got all the entries from the Aquascape stuff. They're really great to look at. Really exciting stuff. I'm having a lot of fun checking those out. And then we're getting all the info together, and basically Rigel, Singh, me, and Alan Bauer, the three of us are all going through it. All the mountain of stuff that 100 entries. I think we ended up with about 100 entries total. Some got disqualified. Some people didn't, you know, they did this beginning of the thing and never did the finished part. But I think finished part submissions we had, yeah, like 99 or something like that. So pretty good turnout considering last year I think we had 36 or 40, and the year before that we had 20 some people that actually did it. So I mean, to do a 4-month project, you guys should pat yourselves on the back if you guys were in on that. And if you want to be on it next time, we'll do another one. We'll do one every year, I'm sure. It may even be sooner than a year out. You know, it might be start in winter, and you know, maybe in January or something this round. Let me answer a couple of these questions, and then I'll pop off with the stuff that I needed to say. Hello, Alan. What's up? Also, just to remind you, we do have great prizes too. So if you entered something, yeah, you might be winning that. Also, apparently my phone says lightning is nearby. So if you just heard a zzz noise or a bing bing noise, that's what it was. Whoa, it looks like there's a picture of a stormy sea on my TV right now, right here, like a tornado or a water spout and then like water. It's just glare. There's nothing on the TV. That's odd. But yeah. Let's see here. I have a question. I have a betta with Popeye, and antibiotics have not been working. Suggestions. Okay, so Popeye is oftentimes dropsy or in conjunction with dropsy, and so it can be bacterial. But the thing is, the eyes can stay popped out. So if you're just looking at the eye and assuming that it's not getting better, that may be a red herring. It oftentimes you treat it and it takes several months for it to go away. Some cases it never goes away. Their eye stays distended and bulging. Usually it doesn't harm their vision or anything. But what you want to look for more is if there's any other issues on their scales or on their gill flukes, on their fins, if they have bits missing or red rashy spots or lesions, any of that kind of stuff. That's going to be more of your telltale. Okay, there's something still going on. There's maybe some parasites going on, or, you know, look out for ick and spots like that too. But, you know, really the best thing is going to be to give them good food. And once you've dosed them, you know, to treat dropsy or Popeye, whatever you want to call it, you kind of just have to make sure that you wait and nurse them back to health and try to keep their stress at a minimum. You know, feed them some frozen bloodworms, or if you can, live worms of some sort. Get them whatever their favorite flake food is. Don't just feed them bloodworms. People do that and then they get all bloated and they have intestine problems. And those wingless fruit flies that you can get sometimes, those are great. Even like little mealworms or grubs sometimes will work that you'd feed like a reptile. So I would say give them good food, and then also put them in a tank that has tannins in it. Definitely make sure you put in a couple, be it catappa leaves, maple leaves, mulberry leaves, alder cones, whatever it may be. put those in, and the tannins will lower the pH, which Bettas can take a pretty low pH. One, bacteria doesn't do well in more acidic conditions. And so if you can get that pH to like 6 or so over the course of a couple days, that'll help too. You don't want to drop it so low that you crash your good bacteria, but you can definitely do some kind of proactive work in preventing more or new secondary infections from starting in the fish. And between that and good food and water changes, that's what I recommend the most. Yeah. All right. Sam Darling says a contest over the winter would be awesome. Summer is a very busy time of year for a lot of us, gardens and such. Yeah, definitely. You know, and the reason we did this one in the summer was because it was immersed. And so we figured a lot of people would want to possibly use tubs or even just Tupperware trays and then use the light outside. So that way you didn't have to buy an expensive light. You could just do it. And we have entries even just from balconies with people doing it in like a Rubbermaid tote. And I mean, some of them turned out really, really nice. Like, I mean, professional level of work. Hey, Alex, would you recommend high-tech or low-tech tank for beginning in the hobby? Happy fins and nature. Well, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. I would say, you know, it depends on how much work you want to do. Ideally, I would tell most people start with a basic tank, which is a hang off the back filter that you can access easily, or a sponge filter. And I would do either sand or gravel at the base of a substrate. I would do aqua soil. I would get either Fluval stratum. That's probably going to be your safest bet. One of the what we call inert substrates, because the inert substrates don't have the nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia. Now, as much as, yeah, you could get a lush tank like this going, and plants love that from the ammonia, the nitrates, and the nitrites, just having fish in your aquarium is going to build up those over time. And that way, if you have a tank that isn't quite ripe cycling wise, you can kind of have a little more room for error if you don't already have your substrate leaching off of that. However, if you're willing to wait like a good month solid without putting fish in the tank, and you're willing to invest in whatever it takes to get a bunch of plants, whether that's, I would, you know, suggest friends, fish clubs, things like that, because buying every species and, you know, trying to put 15 or 10 different species in one tank can get pricey. I mean, I don't know what you're working with for a budget, but I couldn't afford to buy all new stuff and start a tank that way. So I just would recommend, yeah, kind of getting the parts that you can from people. And then you can always make it high tech down the road, as long as you get your substrate. So look into doing a planted tank and do your substrate correctly. I like the lasagna methods where you kind of have layers of it, substrate, and it's fairly deep. That will give you longevity in a tank, several years before you have to change it all out. And it will help your plants quite a bit. But when you start adding in the CO2 and extreme lights or very high powered lights or expensive spotlights, pendant lights, then you start having things like algae that can quickly get out of control. It can quickly spike. So then you end up turning up the CO2, and then you need liquid fertilizers. So I would say if you've been researching for months and you're just excited to get a tank, and you know a lot about it, you know about estimated index dosing or EI dosing, which Tom Barr is kind of known for breaking down, which you can go to the Barr report, BARR report .org or .com. I can't remember which one it is, but you'll find it if you look up the Barr report in aquariums. And he talks a lot about taking care of different high-tech stuff, and that'll kind of give you an idea of, you know, what it takes to take care of some of it. However, I think that it's always worth getting a good light. So not a crazy light, but like I really recommend the Fluval 3.0 Planted Plus. If you get a good substrate in that, you're almost all the way to high tech as far as what you're able to do with skill. I'll show you some tanks today in a bit that are just done that way. A decent medium to highlight, like the Fluval 3.0, it's kind of gets into the highlight, but it's not as intense as some of the really professional level highlights. But that will give you the range to be able to get those bright colors and things like that. If you want to breed fish in your tank, then you're kind of coming from a different angle, and I wouldn't worry about any of the high-tech CO2 or any of the intense lighting or anything like that. But I do think that the Fluval 3.0, if you want a community tank that's planted, is a great light, whether you're going aquascape or you're going to just have an enjoyable, you know, living room or whatever bedroom tank that you have a few dozen fish in. So yeah, let's see here. Let me Will a tank that's gone green kill fish in your experience? No, not at all. So what you want to look out for sometimes is blue. So if it's gone bluish green, that's a cyanobacteria, and some of those can cause problems, or they can deplete the air in the oxygen out of the water just by using it up in phases. Certain algae can do that, can create what we call dead zones. However, more often than not, green water algae is this basically little organisms floating around, and baby fish love them. Some people strive so hard to have, you know, you get your nitrates maybe 50 parts per million, and your so that's on your indicator test kit. That's right where it starts kind of getting to the darker orangish color usually. It's not like blood red or crimson, but you got like a pretty dark orange, like a blood orange color. And somewhere around that area, and then a little bit of phosphates. Some people, that's in their tap water. Others, they'll have to add like a daily or once a week or whatever it may be, but some kind of fertilizer. And then they'll get that from their tanks. Now, other people will be able to get it just by setting a tank in the window, but you will have a dozen to 2 dozen species of little plankton and things growing in your aquarium, especially if you have plants in there. There are almost certainly algae and things growing on that plant, even if they're like 5 or 20 or 50 cells that aren't noticeable right now. Under the right conditions, they'll explode and they'll really come out. And you know, that is the kind of water that if you look at videos of people breeding fish in like Indonesia or Florida or Vietnam and you know, warmer climates where they have ponds outside, they try to turn the water into what we call pea soup, and that's green water. And if they don't have that water, they'll actually make it in a jar, and then they'll take a little pipette and put that water into the tanks with the babies. So any type of nano fish, you'll do really well. If it's a blue-green bacteria that's on the surfaces and it looks like a film, it looks slimy and kind of like saran wrap has been stretched over the bottom of your tank and leaves and things, or a cobweb almost. That's when you wanna treat it with either. I mean, you can do several things. You can black it out with light, but usually it's a cyanobacteria. So since it's half bacteria, it has a way to function without that photosynthetic part of its body, even though it is a bacteria that ate an algae, or vice versa. I guess I don't remember which way it is, but it's all contained in one organism now. So the main way I would treat it is usually one, if it's below the line of the substrate, down into the substrate, and you just see it on the front of the glass, you can either scrape that a little bit off first and then put more plants with roots, because the roots are going to oxygenate, and they don't tend to like cyanobacteria, and a lot of plants have chemical weapons essentially that they can fight that bacteria off with. And so you'll notice that like in the front of tanks, sometimes I'll get a bloom or something, and you'll see a little bit of bluish green on one spot and some green on another, and maybe some brown or red algae on another. But the blue-green stuff doesn't like when the roots come in. The roots, all around the roots, you'll see an area that gets cleaned up, and that's because they're bringing oxygen to the soil, and they're also a lot of them have properties that allow them to fight that off. So yeah. How effective do you think a sponge filter would be? A good one. Oftentimes they get jammed in a few months, even if I clean it every few weeks. I think that sponge filters are great. I mean, I have sponge filters that I don't clean for 6 months at a time. You need to figure out what it is that you're doing that's causing them to get clogged. Like, what is clogging them? Is it the fish waste? If so, maybe you need more plants so that that fish waste can settle down at the bottom and then turn into mold, and actually the ammonium and the carbon and all the goodies that are in your fish waste there. Now, a lot of people, though, overfeed their fish, and then and it seems like you're hardly feeding them enough to a lot of people, because fish are just able to eat and eat and eat, and they'll eat a lot more than they really need to. Most fish don't need to eat daily, and a lot of fish can go a week or 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks without eating in the wild, and that's part of their normal schedule. I mean, they just, especially like catfish and things, they'll eat a big meal and then they'll just lay low. Plecos and things, they'll go a month without eating anything because the dad's used to guarding caves and his fry. And same with a lot of cichlids that protect their fry. But the sponge filters, I would say get a fairly coarse filter if you're having problems with getting clogged. But it might be that you're getting particles of food that didn't get eaten that are, you've got enough flow in the tank, and so it's all coming back to the filter. Maybe you have too many plants and you've got too fine of plant leaves that are breaking off and getting stuck in there. So try to figure out what's making it get clogged, and then maybe try to address that a little bit. But part of what you want a sponge filter to do is to get clogged slightly, because you need that mold, you need that bacteria to colonize the surface. And it doesn't like just colonizing straight on plastic or, you know, PVC or whatever that stuff is made out of on those synthetic sponges. It needs like a little leaf or something in there, and then the water flowing over it is how it works with that. So you want it somewhat clogged, but you just want it moving enough water still that it's pulling the water around it in. So you still want bubbles coming up from it and stuff, and breaking the surface tension. The top of the water is where you get the gas exchange, which I know a lot of you know, but if you get a high-tech tank like a CO2 tank, it's all about where the bubbles break at the surface. It's not about infusing lots of little bubbles, and they don't just soak in on the way up. Water forms protective layers. It's a polar molecule. And so it's basically like these little spheres moving up, and they're not going to just diffuse into the water. They move to the top and then they pop. Well, when they pop, there's then a ripple and a splitting of molecules in several directions, as well as little, if you've ever seen it, it looks like a little explosion in a circle when you see a bubble come to the top. And that's when we get our gas exchange. Well, the same is true with sponge filters. And so when you've got that tube with the little chimney for the sponge filter, a lot of times that is what you're using for your surface agitation, which then gets you your O2 in your tank. Now, certain fish need that. Others don't need any. Some can live in a tank with nothing at all. I mean, they can live in a freaking bowl. Like Danios, usually, they don't need much of that. But rainbow fish, angelfish, I'm trying to think who else likes a lot of oxygen. There's some tetras that do, but anything that's going to be in the hill stream category, definitely as well. All right, let's see here. Josh says, my daughter has 6 balloon mollies that she's wanting to breed, but they haven't done anything in 8 months we've had them. Do you think putting them in brackish water is what they're wanting? No, probably not. Unless you know for a fact that they were raised in brackish water, no. If your water is really soft, though, that could be keeping them from spawning or reproducing, I should say. They're live bears; they don't really spawn. But what you can do, make sure you got some crushed coral or crushed seashell in the tank, because they need that for the calcium. Live bears really need calcium, guppies and things, and you should have a pH somewhere between 7 and 8. But that being said, you should have a TDS of 150 to 300. I mean, 400, 500 TDS is fine for them. They're used to living in limestone caves and rivers and streams all over South and Central America, and North America in the case of mollies. So I would recommend that, but I would also recommend one thing we don't think about very often, and when we have fish that we want to spawn, and I'm going to show you guys some fish that we've got babies going right now in my fish room, but some of the things that you often don't really think about is that the parents look around and instinctually they need triggers for why they would spawn. So if life's always the same, there's some fish that want consistency, and once they have a consistency that's similar to what they naturally want, then yeah, they will spawn. But within 3 to 5 months or so, you'll know if they're one of those fish. And if they're not reproducing, and you have, males and females, and you're feeding them, and, they've got everything you'd think they'd need, they need cues that show them that their babies would survive. So one, they can't be too stressed and have big fish in the tank that are causing them to think, oh, my babies would just get eaten, so I need to wait to have babies. But likewise, we overlook that adding like live baby brine shrimp, getting a brine shrimp hatchery, adding, mosquito larvae, or even just feeding them some frozen food that's higher in protein. You really need to give the mothers a lot of protein. They need to get big. They need to get bigger than the males, big and fat bellies, because they have little umbilical cords inside of them, and the fish actually get nutrients from that. And they need to basically have, the mother needs to have a good reservoir, just like in mammals. But the fact that if there's nothing for the babies to eat, flake food doesn't naturally suit their needs. Now, live bears are so easy to spawn usually because, that's just the way they are. But certain strains might be harder than others because the natural instincts have been bred out of them. They're not being bred to have a bunch of babies. They're being bred for a color or a fin shape or something like that. And they neglect every other attribute in the fish quite frequently to get the desired color and size and shape and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so I would say make sure that the water's got enough TDS or hardness. You can also just take an ice cube tray and fill it with plaster of Paris, and then pop one of those ice cubes. It's a great trick for Neocaridina too, shrimp, cherry shrimp. And just pop one of those ice cubes in like a 10-gallon tank. That will give them all the carbon and all the calcium they need for months until it dissolves. And then give them some little food. Yeah, salt, Chris. Salt could help your betta reduce some swelling. It will also irritate the slime coat, and that can be good in the sense that it agitates the slime coat, and so they make more slime, which then is really their immune system. It's a reflection of their immune system. And so you could try some salt dips. I wouldn't do a real intense one. So if you look for a mixture ratio online, just make sure that it's not one of the really high intensity ones. You're not trying to kill that much, you're trying to get parasites to drop or anything like that. You're just trying to basically, just like when we gargle with salt water, and it kind of brings out some of the swelling and also kind of which by leaching the moisture out, which it will do with their slime coat. So it'll bring some of the moisture through their scales and flesh into that slime coat. And then their natural immune system and body, basically, it's just like our stomach lining. But on fish, it's all around their body. You know, we have our dermis and our epidermis that do the same thing slightly too, but they have that slime, which actually sticks with them. It's almost like a little force field. So yeah, you could try that out. I don't know for sure that it would do a world of good, but it's not going to hurt by any means. So Fission Tanktics, hello. Carmo's Creations, hello. Trying to plan an immersed aquascape for a 50-gallon low bow front. Stocking ideas I'm struggling with. Oh, I always love these. So I would say trying to plan an immersed aquascape. Okay, so you want it immersed. Stocking ideas. So I would get some, maybe Bulbitis would be really cool. Bulbitis hedulata, or even just Anubius and Boost. But then you could get rocks or sticks, bring them up out of the water, have them growing immersed, and then use those rhizome systems or root systems that are left in there. And if it's a low one, you know, then you could actually do fish that maybe live in mangrove type environments. You could even actually get some red mangroves or yellow mangrove or black mangroves would work. Yellow or red or black, I think, are the ones that would work well in the aquarium. And you can grow those as well. You could also put things like bamboo and peace lily and prayer plant, all that kind of stuff in there. And then I would say that depending on how, I mean, 50 gallons is pretty deep still. And I don't know if you want your tank all below a rim or lid, but if you don't and you're okay with it coming up above, then you could still have like 40 gallons of water. If you're trying to keep it all in the tank, then you're probably going to have more like, I don't know, 15 to 20 gallons of water, and the rest is going to be rock or wood stacked up so that things can grow up and out. But I mean, I've seen angelfish look really terrific in that. With 50 gallons, if you really keep it 50 gallons full of water, then you could also do something like a bamboo type grove or a rice paddy emulating that. And you could have, I mean, all sorts of stuff like discus and gouramis. If you're doing the faux rice paddy thing, where you have rice plants growing in there, and then they're growing down into the substrate, and then you could also do floating things. Gouramis are a great choice because there are, I don't know, 100 different gouramis. You can also put a pair of betta in there usually, but you could get chocolate gouramis and the Valiant gouramis or Valentini gouramis, which are really pretty. You could get paradise kissing fish, or a type of gourami basically. And then at the very bottom, you could do some loaches or catfish, or you know, some cleaning fish. If you want to keep it smaller, though, you could really do a cool scene with, you know, you could get some axelrodi Sunda Danios, which are the blue neon rasboras, sometimes they're called, but they almost look like little neon blue tetras, but they're a much more emerald and sapphire greenish blue kind of hues they come in. They also come in red. It just depends on the species, but those are great. You know, you could do some Kubota rasboras with some like scissor tail rasboras in there, and those will hang out in the mid to top water. And then you could maybe do a pair of killifish, but you could do a whole school of, you know, 50 of them or 30 of them, different rasboras, and you can mix and match rasboras really well. And then you could also do like a peaceful powdered blue female gourami or something like that too. So let's take this show on the road a little bit. Oh, Chris was saying too, it looks like he's blind. Is there a way to get him to eat because he's losing weight? He doesn't. Try a little bit of garlic in his food. You can buy these little cubes of garlic that are frozen. I think Dot or is the brand Dodot, I think, or Dodo. I don't know how to if it's French or if it's Dot or what, but they're little cubes and they almost look like fish food already. But you can take that, or you can buy some fresh garlic and just mash it with the side of a knife, and then mix that. Kind of just, you can take either flake food or you can take, Fluval bug bites or something like that, and you can kind of just all mix it around and do a little mush, and then put that in the aquarium. And sometimes that's how I can get them to also eat medication. For some reason, fish just like garlic. Like most species of fish like garlic. So that's one thing to try if they're not eating. But when they start not eating at all, it's not usually the best sign. It's usually means they're pretty darn sick, or stressed, but live worms would be the other thing that, if they don't go for those, then that there's some health issues that are going to be real challenging. So I figured the one last thing I was going to say too is, I know we had some people who were offering to sponsor the contest, the aquascaping contest. Aquatic Arts is giving $250 to the first place winner. Alan graciously has acquired a bunch of really great books. We've got the Crystal Castleman book, aquarium plants. Also, I think it should be on the way, but George Farmer signed first edition of his book. He's got the Crystal Castleman signed book, and then he's also got a Diane Wallstead book, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't think of the other one right now. But in any case, we've got some great prizes. $250 for top plus a book, and then $100 for second place, and then $50 for third place. But then also with gifts too. So we had some people saying though, hey, I would like to sponsor $100 for a kids contest, or I would like to sponsor the most creative, and I wanted to donate 50 rice fish as a prize, or 10 rice fish as a prize, whatever it was. So if you were one of the people who said that, I'd love it if you could reach out to me and either comment in this, like afterwards on this video, or email me at alexanderjwilliamson@gmail.com. Just my full name, Alexander, J as in the letter jet, Williamson, no spacings or anything changes, at gmail.com. And yeah, and then we'll get you set up, and then we'll make sure to add those categories when we're judging. But we have a rubric, so we'll have like creativity. So hopefully it should be easy in hindsight still, that we can grade things the way we're going through right now as we speak. The three of us have been looking at the entries. But if you wanted to do a kids contest or whatever, that was another one that was mentioned. Another one was endangered or rare species. So if you were in on that, or suggested any of that, I would love to hear from you, if you're still up to sponsor it. And the more people that want to do that, the more we can give you guys, the more we can give back, which is fun. So yeah. All right, let's see here. Let's go on a little walk. Let's go on a walkabout, everybody. And we'll flip this around. There we go. Are there any fish? That is a great question. Hidden squid? I like the name. Are there any fish you wouldn't keep for ethical reasons? I wouldn't keep anything that's going to get over a foot long for the most part. Now, I have one exception to that at the moment. which is I do have a ghost knife, and they can get pretty darn big. But I'll find him a new house. Another one, I wouldn't keep like a salmon or something that is a migratory fish. I wouldn't keep anything like that. Here's obviously one of the bettas that I've been hoping to breed. But the gouramis, this is probably these, and also honey gouramis are the other one that I'd recommend. And then, by the way, here's Rose, his little lady's side friend. So we've got Jackson fish stick over here, and I'm hoping that he starts making some bubble nests. So far he doesn't get it, but he is very kind and peaceful with her, and he will rub up against my finger and stuff. She's a little less kind. She'll bite my finger. And she's a glutton. She's been eating bloodworms like there's no tomorrow. Whenever there's bloodworm food, she's like a wrecking ball, and she just like pushes everyone out of the way, including the large algae eater. That's the Siamese algae eater. I don't know if you guys can see him back there, but he's like 7 inches long, and she just pushes him out of the way right here. Dinky Winky Dog, like that name too. Mr. Gromby, hello. Let's see here. So right now, some of my Lagranandra is finally coming back up too, which is good. And then I've had this one guppy, or Endler, I should say, and his little lady too. They've been in here forever, and no babies ever. I don't know what her problem is, or if they just get eaten instantly. But I think I had showed you guys this a couple weeks ago too, is that I had a true orange Nymphea tiger lily. Usually they're red, but this was a true orange one. And all the good color leaves have all just been eaten lately. Here comes one that's starting better color. Also, this Anubius, it looks like it's deficient in something, or like there's algae growing on it. That's not algae, that's holes. But these leaves, this leaf has been here. These top leaves, like here's a newer leaf under here. These top leaves have been here for 6 months to a year. And they just have ragged holes from where plecos or whatever have scraped on them. And over time, they just get beat up. But the leaves are still doing their function. They still have their veins. They're still doing their photosynthesis. And so I've let them be. But they're sure not that pretty when you let a plant grow without trimming it at all. So that's just kind of a buyer beware, or I don't know, a cautionary tale of what happens when you get Anubius that's big. This is a Coppofolia that's just gotten big and out of hand. Also, I'm trying to figure out what's been going on here, but we have really, really wrinkled leaves coming in, and I noticed the same thing starting to happen here too. And it's probably a deficiency of something or an overabundance of something, but I'm not sure what it is. But it's interesting that the leaves are doing that on 2 different species. Biscotti, you got to go to work, huh? Well, let me show you something real quick. I hope you have a good day, but I'll just cut to the chase and show you. So I bought this. I bought a 90 long, and ta-da! I bought that. So it's either going to be going, it could fit right here very tightly. I could do a whole shelf for it, or I could swap places with it for this guy. And which is what I'm most likely leaning towards, and then putting this on one of the shelves in there. This guy's gotten so jungly that I started untangling all the bits and pieces of it, and it's just such a headache. I mean, it's all grown together and it's gotten really leggy because it's gotten so dark down close to the roots. You can see that everybody is reaching for the top, and so you've got these big long stem sections, and some of them have grown into actual literal knots, and they've fused with other plants. Oh, there's a little stone catfish. They never hang out. Anchor catfish, whatever you want to call them. These are Indian, and these can stand cold water. They're a great little fish, but they do have a little spike and they'll nail you. But there's, compared to my finger, that's full grown. Those are a really cool nano oddball catfish. I really like those. Let me show you guys there's Autosynclus in here, but there's also these Bickford pencilfish. There's a big pregnant female. And where is the other? We had friends over, and they had kids. Gotta love kids. So, yeah, here's more of those. And they're a real pretty little pencil fish. Also, we had our first auction back at our club, and I ended up getting this bag of Anubius for $10. Some big old pieces of petite Nana. Been growing a long time. And then also got some water sprite or Indian water fern, whatever you want to call it. And I also got some Mayaka red, which is already in the tank right here. Hopefully it turns red eventually. It's still pretty leggy, like I was saying. We've got another Mayaka too that's just gotten, and a Tonina too, that both look pretty similar. Gotten a little leggy over there. All right, let me hop down. Alan, thank you so much. Crip stocking fun. Alan, you're far too kind, buddy. I really do appreciate it, because I have been really tight on money this month. I got a $1,500 ER bill left over from when my tooth went septic, and that was super bummer that happened. Just unexpected, I guess, like, because we'd already paid $2,000 on the bill, and it was like 6 hours at the ER. And I don't know. It's just one of those little things in life where you're not expecting it, and it snuck up on me. And then it's my wife and I's anniversary. So between that and then buying that this tank, it was like, of course I get the surprise bill showing up. So I do appreciate it, just because I'm gonna be eating ramen for the next few weeks, which is fine. That's my choice. So we got least killifish in here, and what I wanted to show you is that their fins actually have color. So they actually have yellow on their dorsal fin. This one is a little nervous, but it's got blue on its pectoral fin down there, and then it's got a lovely yellow dorsal fin, and some of them are downright like orange colored. Here's the female for size, full grown, and then we've got some Medaka rice fish and celestial pearls in there. So they're all running around. They were outside, and now they're back inside for the season. So yeah. Hey Chubbs, what's up? Let's see. Why so? And then I was gonna show you guys what I've been breeding. So, hold on, guys. What did I just step on? Felt like I stepped on something. I didn't. It was just my sciatic pain. So unfortunately his mate he decided to kill. I don't know why he did that. Why did you do that, bro? Domestic violence, Mr. Orange Cockatoides Flash. So I need to get him a new buddy. But these angels are getting big. These guys will probably be in that long tank for a little while, just because they're not full grown by any means. They're still growing out quite a bit, but they are 2 black ones and then 1 marbled black and metallic silver. So I think that'll be fun. The other thing I was thinking about doing, like, I'll have to fund all of these crazy ideas later, so I'll have to think about what I'm doing for that. But one of these tanks is going to turn into a blackwater tank. I think it's going to be this one, this rimless. I think I'm going to do a blackwater biotope over the over the winter. And I think we're going to transform this one down here into a nursery tank, into a plant nursery tank. This one's questionable. I'm getting more male haplochromis for this soon. Right now I only have 4 females in here, and they have ripped out all of the plants. And you can see by, like, I mean, not all, but this used to be a very planted tank, if you remember. They've ripped out pretty much everything that they can get to. They can't get to these because I put rocks in front, right behind them. But even like the Anubius, you can see the dirt and mulm and stuff just from them kicking it up every single day. They go hog wild in here. The Apongeton doing well in there, though. Ponegeton, whatever you want to say. The Bulbitis hedulata. And then metallic corkscrew valve. This snail, the Nereids, are very useful with them. I don't know why they're hiding. They hide all day. It kind of annoys me. I'm tempted, even though they supposedly need so much room. I'm tempted, even though they're fish yay big and create quite a bit of mess, bio waste wise. I am thinking about moving them into like a 20 long or something and putting this back in like redoing this whole tank back into an Aquascape community tank, because I miss how it was with this big piece of manzanita and it came up and out, and then this this lovely plant that they're killing now. Man, just cichlids can be so hard on stuff. But we've got these guys that are doing well too. These are the Turkana jewel cichlids, and they're really bright now with their little metallic flashes and flares. And some are babies. This is a hard tank to get to. The way I set this up, I turn them longwise in, and I do have some clearance, but it just makes it so I don't aquascape the back of the tank, and then it gets kind of boring. The other thing that I got are some split fin goodyads, and you can see them here. These are Amica or Amica species, and I really like them. They're really pretty. They've got like a little butterfly tail, and when they get older, they'll be about 2 to 3 inches long. I'm trying to get it to focus on one that has the Dalmatian spotting. Let's see here. Can we get it to focus right here as this guy comes in? Yeah, there you go. And then they've got a yellow tail. The back edge of their tail is yellow. So we've got some in here, and they're in with pea puffers, which is a weird choice, but they're both fairly aggressive. And while these guys are growing out, I got them as really newborn fry. While they're growing out, they seem to be getting along with the pea puffers, and they both feed really voraciously. Pea puffers are hanging tough back in the back, though. Then over here, this tank I brought in, well, we've got the neon rainbows, but we've also got the super friendly that likes to be handled. This is a non-heated tank, but we've got the paradise fish. Now, unfortunately, they were in here. I brought them in because it was raining, lightning, and thunder, and the temperature dropped into the 40s last night or 2 nights ago. And I lost the female, and I don't know if she got shocked. I mean, I just took cold water from the tank, the tub they were in outside, brought the whole thing in this little container, little half-gallon container, and brought them in, and they warmed up to room temperature, and she died, and that was a bummer. So I'll have to get another albino one, or maybe I'll get a normal one and see what happens. I'll just have to breed them for 2 generations. And then other than that, we've got more least killifish in here growing out, but we also have a bunch of bettas. So we've got baby bettas in here. Here's one right in front of us. He looks huge. There's another one. So we've got bettas growing out in there, and then up here we've got there's 2 baby half beaks growing out in here, and there's also some pencilfish. Those big-furred pencilfish are growing out in here, and they're just in with some Neocaridina shrimp and some scuds, and literally no aeration running or anything. It's just you see it. You see what you get. What you see is what you get. And same with this tank here with the bettas. Same with this tank here which has got bettas and erythromicron and shrimp and a couple oddball Midakas that are still growing out that were left over from outside. The Stiphodons, another interesting thing is they are breeding now, or spawning, I should say. They're not reproducing successfully, but they've been really getting super fat, and they're just tubby little guys. The females, like this one here, super pregnant. You can see her belly is just loaded up with eggs. She's fighting a reflection of herself. But loaded up with eggs, and I've seen the male and female, they'll twist together, and the male will release like this cloud of like milt, which is kind of gross if you think about it too long. But in the tank, she was releasing her larval or her eggs, and he's releasing the milt. And the problem is this doesn't lead to salt water. There's no plankton for them to eat, and so they're not developing. Nothing's gonna happen. They're just gonna die as like little single cell things. Now we've also got some older goodyads. I separated them by size. So here's some of the bigger ones, and they're in with my rams. So this is cyanobacteria right here. Somebody was talking about cyanobacteria and green water and stuff. That bluish turquoise, it's almost too much of a jade or emerald green. It's usually going to be cyano, and that's because it's got access to the light, the daylight right here. And this tank is kind of turned into green water. But because of that, it's been awesome. I've had sparkling gouramis spawning in there. There's some sparkling gouramis staying separate over here. They've spawned in here quite a few different times. So that's been kind of cool. Then over here, as you guys probably heard, when we had the big temperature swings and stuff, I lost all but a couple of my panda loaches. So that was a bummer. That and my Blue Dream shrimp, I mean, they're still in here, but they're not nearly as ubiquitous now. I mean, they're just not as common in this one tank. The Bulbitis, the fern, and everything's doing well. Here's some of the little guys, but I was sad because these guys are 3 years old, and that's pushing how old they get, period. And then they all just got sick in a day from temperature fluctuations, I guess, and died. And so that's a real bummer. But yeah, you can see there's just random shrimps all over. Some, like this guy's not very good quality. I'm gonna try to suck him up. But you can see there's actually quite a few shrimp in here still. They're just harder to see. Harder to see, I guess. I've gotten this line to such a deep blue coloration that now they are tricky to even spot. Like that one with my naked eye, I didn't even see it sitting there. Which is a good problem to have, I guess. Like there's another one right in front of my eyes. So there are still shrimp in here, and I guess they're doing all right. But I just, at one point, there were so many shrimp in here that it looked like thick with them. And the frustrating part is like I don't know where they disappeared to. Obviously, they died. And I don't know where they disappeared to. There's just no sign of them. There's no bodies. There's no anything. And it was adults that I'm missing. The babies seem to be okay. Like all the juveniles seem to be fine. Also, we've got clown killifish in here in this tank with the with more caridina. The caridina hide all the way back in the back all the time. They don't want to come out ever. There's like a couple that aren't completely freaked out by everything. And then we've got the beta tank or betta tank, in which this has a bunch of shrimp in it, which seems like a weird, like, Alex, why would you have a bunch of shrimp in a tank with your betta? That's a pretty cool shot the way that's side lit right now. And the answer is so they can eat them, and they just can't eat them fast enough. But they had babies, and I took most of the babies away from them, and that's why the babies are up there right now growing out. And here's the female. And hopefully by feeding them good protein and everything, they'll be ready for spawning yet again soon. But they live together just like in the other tank. A lot of people think you can't let males and females live together, but you can. So here's my big male clown killie or rocket killie. And then there's two females here. They don't have the color on their tail, like barely any. And a little smaller. So I've got them, and then they've got some babies. If you look on the ground there by that stick, if you follow it back, they've had some babies. So we got the clown killies going, and then also we've got the half beaks, which are live bears. These guys, they're having babies, but the problem with this is that the where are they? We'll find one to show you. That the Gertrude rainbow fish are definitely just nom 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 eating the babies as quickly as they're born, which is a bummer, dude. Also, my my Pinto, I guess, is doing well. I'm surprised that it's able to withstand this, but I've been letting it float and just be right at the top. And down there is the Marmorid. There's my big old elephant fish. Let's see if we can get a shot of him. And then we've got the Pandarini or Panduro cichlid pistos here. There's the female. But the issue is, yeah, there's the Marmorid. Let's see if I put my hand in the water, he'll probably move a little bit. But yeah, the real issue is these guys won't spawn for the life of me. They're real bright in color. They seem all dopey and happy. I can't figure it out. And there's the male right here. He's got a nice blue color and purple on him. And they've got a million different places to spawn, but they just don't seem to want to do it. And the other odd thing in this aquarium is the cories all climb on top of this matted stuff, and they just hang out at the top of the water, which I've never really seen. So I don't know what is going on. Here's some of the rainbow fish that are eating the fry of the half beaks, by the way. All right, let me answer a couple questions too while we're at it. Mortimer, happy fin. Would you please provide some care tips and water parameters for keeping crystal red shrimps? This is an Episto Panduro or Pandarini. They go by both names. But female is going to be kind of a bumblebee. Almost looks like a Banshee or an Inca 50. Except she's got kind of this little blue spot, and then she's got a nice mask on her. And then the male, he can really change in color a lot. He can be blue, he can be totally blue, or he can be almost like an orange.
like a yellowy orange color. But usually he's got his little orange mohawk and then super orange peachy tail, and then a lavender gray to blue body. And he also has a mask that's blue or purple when he gets going. Yeah, there's pretty good surface agitation in that these. This is a 70-gallon for a 70-gallon, and this is a 40 breeder. That I've set up so it's dripping, so that it does splash and agitate the water. And then we've also got an air stone right at the top over here. So there's pretty good agitation. I thought the same thing, like, oh, they're just not getting enough air. But I think it's something about this hornwort, because when I moved the hornwort, they weren't hanging out up, like trying to be up near the top at all. But I just found that interesting. I don't know, maybe they're grazing on some little micro food source or something. I don't know. Making things up. I don't know. But yeah. And then let's see here. Oh yeah, if you haven't hit that like button yet, I would so appreciate it. I would greatly appreciate that from y'all. If you like it. If you don't like it, then smash that dislike button. We had a freshwater little snail in here too, like a limpet, and apparently I never saw him. He just I just found his shell, and there's no one living in it. Boy, that's a blue Malawa shrimp. Boy, oh boy, that is jet blue. Some of my Malawas are now really getting color. The blues are really getting really blue on some of these babies that have been in they've been in this process now for 5 years, 6 years since I first got them. So yeah, AB says definitely the hornwort. It's a habitat for top minnows. Oh yeah. AB, I would love that. I am definitely a plant collector, and I've been trying to decide. But one of the things that I wanted to do for a long time is I wanted to do an all dark red and purple plant tank with CO2 and everything. But I was thinking like doing a couple of these, some AR minis, some Signanthius red, some purple upon Geetons. By the way, look at that little Stiphodon back there, the cobalt blue, just chewing on the biofilm. He just slowly goes num 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 num, like a little Pac-Man. Won't eat algae, but he'll definitely make his way up that. And then smack in the middle of the day, don't know why, but the Kuliloches are always hanging out right here. These Kuliloches are very fun. Yeah, all right. So you guys are buying my... And actually, this guy looks like he's got some blue in him, too. Starting to see some blue. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I got... and I'm going to... the Minima... Is it Minima? I know. Minutia? I can never remember which one it is. It's the smallest betta that there is. And I've got 4 of them in here. And yes, I overfed at a point. You can tell because there's too many snail shells. But the snails are now stunted. Where are the bettas? Oh, there's one right there. But they're not that much to behold, but they are interesting. And they're in another stagnant tank. Again, guppies brought in from the pond. They're really pretty guppies. I'll show you some in a better light. And then these are the ones that never went out. Just some that are from my line that have gone out in years past. And I'll show you down here. Hopefully they'll come out. The other thing that's interesting lately is that oh yeah, here's the guppies up here. They're a real interesting mix because they've got that natural look to them, like an Endler would on the side, but then their tails are just this fascinating mix of black Moscow guppy delta mixed with the wild lyre tail. Isn't that weird? And it's not torn. It's got these crazy leopard spots on it. It almost looks like they're wearing bell bottoms or something. I don't know. They're a very interesting line that just formed in a misfit pond over the generations. Some of them have the full delta tail. Some of them have the split leer gene. And if they have the lyre tail gene, it's because they came from the ones originally from Lucas Brett's. But the rainbow endlers, rainbow tiger endlers. And then these guys, they're doing well. They've had some babies that just survived. So there's one right there. And you'll see the size difference in a moment. Some of these guys are good size, like that one down there. And then there's some younger ones that are smaller. So a batch of babies survived at some point. I don't know what their trick was, but they survived over the others. And then where's that knife fish? Also, we have some lovely Venezuelan corridoras in here, if you can make those out. Sorry, that glass down there is dirty, but they're the orange Venezuelas. I got those at the local club meeting too. Also, the barred border loach. They're not the border loach that's sold often. These are a pygmy or dwarf barred border loach. That it'll come out again in a second. They're pretty shy. Here's another one. I love these things. They've got these big old whiskers that are actually kind of hard to see, but they're really long, and they're just really interesting. They're an interesting fish, and I tried to breed them when I had a hill stream tank set up with flowing water, and I tried like, I don't know, 10 different setups between it. And all of a sudden in this tank, look at, no water is running. There is a heater that'll kick on if the room gets too cold, but no water is running. And yet my African multi-stripe barbs and my dwarf border multi-band or multi-barred loach, they spawned. And then also my golden, oh, never mind. Well, it took off, so we won't talk bad about him. But there's also the angel that was left over in here too, with no water flow. So, I mean, this was a bit of an experiment once the filters gave out, and I just haven't spent the money to buy new filters lately. Yes, Ruby Persicaria is very pretty, like the Sao Paulo version too. They're all really pretty. But there we've got the golden Nanacara, and this thing is so beat up from years past, but she keeps on trucking. And there comes one of the baby barred loaches right there in that Kabamba grass. And then there comes that dwarf golden cichlid. Looks like it has ick on its fin, but it's not. It's like some sort of scar tissue, I guess. But look at some of these guppies again. Just bizarre patterns. I haven't seen patterns like this ever on any strains for sale. Look at that thing. Weird and cool patterns. And they're all different. I mean, some of the traits repeat themselves a little bit, but they're, for the most part, they're all different. What I was trying to find, but he's pretty shy, was the black ghost knife that I got. And again, as it should be, he's the only Mormarid in this tank. You either want a big old group of Mormarids usually, or one or two, and he'll get pretty big. But, oh, here they all come. I scared them all towards the glass. All the banded. So I started with 4 in here, and there's 9 of them now. So not a very prolific spawn, but successful enough to say that they did, to be able to easily tell, like, oh, cool, I've got some new fish. And same with the banded guys. We've got probably 20 in here now. And we started with 9 from Aquatic Arts. So, and also, just a reminder, Aquatic Arts, they've got a lot of cool stuff right now. A lot of cool stuff, honest. And you can use the discount codes in the description down below and hook yourself up with that stuff. Get yourself some cool stuff from Aquatic Arts. These Turkana Cichlids, look how big some of them are. They're all the same age. They were all the same size, and I got them when they were really young from Kenny at Danikin Aquatics. And now some of them are just ginormous compared to the others. They're like 5 times bigger in mass. Cappuccino snails always pull their weight. They're doing good. Also, I got another guppy tank back there that's just doing its thing. And the Illuminatus are doing well. I should probably pull them aside and let them spawn. And so the spotted Borneo loach, he's happy too. Both of them are happy. They've been in. There's one down here too. Oh, and then the other little spot we've got. Luckily I've got a Fluval stratum and I've got the ADA. So I'm ready when it comes to needing to put soil in here, but I don't have the money or haven't figured out what I'm doing for the lights yet. But that should be nice. It's a 3-foot tank, so should be nice when it's all set up. Definitely going to be an aquascape. I don't know if you can make out all these little fish racing around, but these little fish, and it's kind of greenish water, but they are the ruby barbs and rosy barbs. There's some rosy and some ruby barb fry, all just going crazy. And yeah, there's some protein film on the top because there's nothing in here agitation-wise. But I've been feeding them scuds and leftover like little micro life forms that sometimes build up in the corner of like the betta tank down in the bottom. You'll get all these little white dots, and that's, you know, it's all good food. Also, some of these neocardinas are having groups of babies, which is nice because some of them have kind of passed on, probably just from old age. But there's another pregnant one right there. And then I was trying to show you guys the balloon rams that I rescued from PetSmart, but they're so freaking shy. They just never come out. I think I'm going to change their living arrangement. Like, I don't want to make them too stressed or sick or anything, but they really never come out. They literally just huddle in the corner all day long, and they're such pretty fish that I just feel like I want to see them more often, but I also I feel like they've got to be having a terrible quality of life if they've got this whole tank to be in and they only hang out in the one spot all the time. Hardly ever have I seen them utilizing any of these huts. They're not nesting or doing any mating dances or anything like that ever. I'll try to get the camera back in here, but it's a tight squeeze. Let's try to just squirt a jet of air. We'll probably get them to move. But they're probably right behind the pre-filter. It's usually where they're hanging out. Come on. And then we've got all these goodie eds, and there's a lot of biological material built up in here. So I do kind of need to go through, clean this out a bit, just for the sake of, see all these like needles and stuff. This over time will break down and it will be fine. It'll turn into a mulm, but in the meantime, it is causing slight ammonia production, and it's causing some acidification of the tank. So I'd rather nip it in the bud. Yeah, I see. They're so scared. They're such scaredy cats. that the only way to get them to move is to literally like poke them. They're right here. I don't know why they're so, I don't know what I ever did to them. Most of my fish, I can find a dither or figure out, you know, something that works for them, and they'll be all right. But rams are a very sensitive fish, emotionally. You know, they're just sensitive. And there's one right there again. But yeah, they need a little more special care and love than your average fish. And here this water is so gnarly, cloudy. You know, nobody would think of this as a good aquarium by looking at it aesthetically. But if you know rams, you know that they actually need pretty good quality water. And same with, you know, these rainbow fish and the siphodons, things like that. A lot of people, because of how bad my back has been, I haven't been able to do the big water changes, nor have I been able to lean over these tanks and work in them for, you know, a couple hours straight at all. And so it's been a bit trying, but everything's still doing really well. And it's just because of the redundancy that I tend to put into my, hey, Danny, welcome. Screaming Fly, welcome. It's just because of that redundancy that I put into all my aquariums. You know, I try to make sure that there's an actual mechanical filter, and then biological filters, you know, things like moss with lots of surface area for good bacteria. And then we've got the different substrate layers. We've always got, you know, we've always got the lasagna or sandwich of substrate going. You can see here, there's more cyanobacteria. Well, I was going to show you guys. Hold on here. Let's see if it shows up at all on camera. So here, you can't even see the light very well. I mean, you can see there's some green here when I get just the right angle. But watch this. When I show the black light on it, it just illuminates it this reddish purple color. Whereas you can see the substrate, it doesn't do that too. But down as you get in here, the UV light really just lights it up. So over here where it's more easy to see, I think, you can see it makes those tendrils like blood red, and makes the brown or red algae, it makes it look like a really strong magenta. And then the blue green turns almost to like a fiery, like right here, like a fiery reddish purple. It's hard to show on film, probably. It's probably not showing up that well. But I don't know. I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. Now, one thing that's another bummer, and it must have happened during the heat wave again, is that my transvestitis Nanochromis cichlids, they also passed away on me. I think. I just haven't seen them in weeks. So I feel like I lost quite a few fish this summer with the heat waves and things. And then with tubbing, I didn't end up getting a whole lot of new babies, really. I mean, I have taken several rounds to sell. And then here's my big lemon plecos. They're 5 years old now, maybe 6, depending on how old they were when I got them. But look at how chubby this boy is. He is just a fatty. And then the female, she's got the cinnamon roll of full belly. All right, let's see here. I was going to answer questions. Right. All right, let's do that. Son of Quack, kind of off topic. I was thinking some of your shrimps from earlier, would a 0.4 change in pH be crazy to move shrimp from 7.6 to 7.2? You'll probably be okay at that. I would acclimate them, and if they're Neocaridina, you're probably fine. If they're Caridina, I would be very careful. But if you have Caridina that have survived in 7.6, that's really odd and impressive. They usually want that 6.5 to 7 range. Boy, that Betta is pretty when he swims. Let's see here. So, Yeah. Dinky Winky Dog, definitely. I know what you mean. This is where I've been sleeping every night, is right here on the bedroll. No anything, no pillow. I just lay flat. My Threadfin and Rainbow's Rummy Nose went 9 days without power, no losses. Right on, Chubbs. That's killer to hear. We might be losing our power tonight. We'll see. We just had to trim back all this tree here because Laura, luckily we paid. Speaking of all the bills we have, luckily Laura paid for this months ago, but she's putting in here a bay window, a true bay window to sit where you can sit. Or put aquariums, and you can see, I don't know, maybe you can see how dark the horizon is back there by those poplar trees. It's like nighttime dark over there, and we've been having like these thunder and rainstorms rolling through all weekend, just kind of coming through, dumping an inch or two and then moving on again. Alishan, oh yeah, New England Cichlid Association is having an event on October 30th. Yeah, which is also going to be the same weekend as Aquashella, the Halloween stuff. Hello, hey Mary, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm glad you're listening. It's all good. Hey Barb and Bates and Genetics, good to see you too. Yeah, the PetSmart balloon rams are so unhealthy. I wouldn't spawn them probably. I mean, I honestly don't want them to spawn. I just want to keep them happy and active and moving around, but I don't really want to spawn them because their genetics are so freaking bad. I just would worry about their babies if they had any. I wish you guys could see more of this color, but there's just this beautiful, like, oh, with my finger in the picture, you kind of see it, but her fin is peach and blue. It's bizarre. It's color changing, and it just depends on the angle. So it's either like an orange peach or it's a beautiful blue. Really cool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think I should do with the long aquarium. I'm thinking it would go from that wall to about where this router is. So I could put it right here, full length here, be a little shorter than this one. It'd be like here. So maybe I'd want to put it on a little bit of a stand of some sort. But that's one idea. The other idea was to put it in here too. And either, well, I mean, I could easily just put it right up there and just scoot all the tanks up there, but then it'd be up there and it's like, do I want to do that? But really what I need to figure out is how much I want to spend on lights and what kind of lights. Do I do 3 spotlights, the cheap ones that are $29.99 for 2? The Cree LEDs that I've listed, they're in the description, I believe, a link to them if you ever need to buy them on Amazon. And if you don't find them in the description, I have 3 videos called Let There Be Light. And they were 3 live stream series where I go over all the different lights that I have. And I have like 15. And I go over the pros and cons and differences and prices and all that stuff. So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, what Natural Aquarium said about the crystal red shrimp is spot on. The answer they gave was great. Thank you. Somebody buy AI primes. What's AI primes? These guys are looking good. And the gobies that hunt and bury themselves in the sand, they're doing really well too. They're doing great. The Schismatogobius, they're doing real good. Oh, and my thread fins, they're doing fine too. So really, I mean, I've got a lot of fish that I could pull aside and spawn. And somehow I managed to, no matter how many tanks I have, I end up doing, oh, I'll do a tannin tank. I'll do another community tank. I'll do another community tank. Oh, let's do another community tank. I mean, I've got a few species tanks, like that one and kind of that one. But really, I need to do like a CO2 infused nursery tank that's making money with plants. And then I need to do a you know, what I like make more sense and kind of split it up by, okay, here's a biotope of this region or that region. So yes. Oh, I don't know that light, Alec. Alec, the nice. That is interesting, though. There's a light that I mean, I'd love to check it out. Oh, I should show you guys something else too. Where did it go? So I get offered some real freaking weird stuff lately since the channel has gotten of a certain size, and I don't know what tipped them off to, oh, you're of a certain age, you're of a certain size now in the channel. But usually they send me emails. This time Higer sent me a water changer. I was like, hey, can you send me lights, please? Lights, filters, heaters, those are all great. But no, they sent me without any info, they sent me this weird water changer. And I'm going to play with it. It's not a sponsored link or anything. I mean, I didn't tell them, oh, yeah, I love that thing, or I hate that. I don't know anything about this thing. But I will try it out. So, kind of odd. General, whoa, what's going on? Oh, nice, Chubbs, you just got 6 Madagascars. Those are really pretty. They really are. The other group that's offered to sponsor me lately is that surprised me was Snickers bars. They said that they'd give me $300 to do 3 ads that were 30 seconds long, which feels a little cheap on their end compared to what a lot of people would charge for that. But for a big corporation, that is. I'm not complaining. I would take that in theory, but I feel like if I do that, like I have to just do it for you guys during a live stream as like a full-on joke, and then you guys will be in on it, knowing that like, why is a fish channel saying Snickers bars? Like, you know, 30 seconds of eating a Snickers bar. Levi Jeans also wanted me to wear Levi's jeans, and they're like, can't you just put on some of our jeans in the video? And I'm like, you don't watch my channel ever, do you? Rarely do you see my body because it's so sexy, and never would I bring up wearing jeans, so you guys can just piss off. But I am waiting for, like, if it's if they'll give me money, you know, and if you're bored or you know someone at Dr. Pepper, love Dr. Pepper, you guys know this. I said, hey, I have an idea, because they have like a submission page for like ideas for sponsorships. And I said, and this one I feel like makes sense, is I said, hey, how about you guys buy me a CO2 cartridge that looks like a Dr. Pepper, like a tank, like a CO2 tank, and all the carbonation or CO2 in my aquascapes, if I do a video related to them, or if you look at my tank, like this one, it will look like a Dr. Pepper and CO2, get it? You know, like, and I drink your soda just compulsively because I don't know, an idiot, whatever it is, because I love the great taste that never fills you up and always lets you down. Did I read it right? They're not sponsoring me yet, but yeah. So that was my pitch. So if anybody knows anybody at Dr. Pepper, hook a brother up. I will sell out for them. I will wear t-shirts. I will tattoo the fish. I will paint each fish. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool to take the CO2 from a plant or from cans of soda and try to put the CO2 from that into a fish tank, watch, all my fish would just get diabetes and die, and like none of the plants would grow. But if they want to just help me with CO2, I mean, and I know a lot of you, I've gotten pictures from all over the world and I love it. If you're watching my videos and drinking a Dr. Pepper, like especially now that we're at the end of the stream tonight, feel free to like send a picture sometime, or on Instagram or anywhere, you know, or Facebook. Yeah, I wash my meds down with Dr. Pepper too. I totally agree. I have to take, you know, since the lightning strike, I have to take all the hormone replacement stuff and the testosterone or the prednisone stuff, and yeah, and I totally always have a sip of Dr. Pepper with this live stream and or dinner and or breakfast and or when I'm sleeping, I hook it up to a drip like a hamster would have. But we're coming to that point in the night where, yeah, actually Bates and genetics, you know, what's funny is that people used to take San Pellegrino and what is it? Perrier. People used to take Perrier and just dump that in their aquariums before they'd take pictures, because it makes it look like everything is you know, just beautifully bubbling, and that it's all just purling naturally, and that the plants couldn't be happier, that they're photosynthesizing at the craziest rate you could ever see. But yeah, it was always just a can of sparkling water, of CO2 water, sparkling water. For years, that was a trick. Takashi Amano used that trick, actually. That was one of his favorites. Oh, Dr. Pepper on Cheerios. No, thank you. Although I do, you know, if you watch other YouTube channels, you've probably seen Magic Spoon cereal. Stuff tastes like garbage. They asked if I'd do an ad for them. So I tried it just to find out if it was any good, but not to do an ad. But man, stuff tastes like garbage. So yeah, I wouldn't. I'm probably digging myself holes right now. Like, all these people never sponsor the channel for anything. But you guys know that I would not sponsor anything that I didn't actually really like and use. So yeah, but in any case, I was just trying to think of fun ways to pay for projects in the future that don't cost you guys anything either. Do I still have to add crushed coral if a city adds calcium carbonate to my water supply? Probably not, Kate. It depends. You may, I mean, it depends on how hard your water is. Do you get white rings around your tub and sink and toilet and stuff? If so, your water is probably hard enough. If you're not getting those white rings from water being too hard, or if your shower head doesn't get clogged ever or anything, then you might need to add a little bit more. What I would do is I would buy a TDS meter, which are real inexpensive. And in fact, I think in the link below, there is a link to, hold on, one of these on Amazon, except it's yellow by Ubuntu, but they're like 12 or 14 bucks depending on what you get, and you can check the TDS. And so usually, you know, that'll tell you how hard your water is. Not usually, always. That'll tell you how hard your water is. Now, they also have pH meters and things like that that you can use too, because if your water is really hard, you may have some alkaline water too, and you may want it more acidic, or maybe you like alkaline water because you're doing guppies, or maybe you're doing Tanganyika cichlids or something brackish. I don't know. You know, there's so many different things you could want and or need out of your water. But those are just a really inexpensive tool that I recommend. A long time ago, I did a video on 20 tools under 20 bucks that are lifesavers in the aquarium. And, you know, that was one. Turkey baster's another. The thermal imaging heat thermometer, whatever you want to call it, laser guided thermometer. Great. So there's things like that that just have saved me so much time and effort and just speed things up and make things less of a mess. So yeah. But after all is said and done, that's now. I have got to call it a night. Alan, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. We will be grading your paperwork. We will be commenting, putting our little thoughts and notes next to the aquascapes, and we will be filling out basically a rubric points for the entrance. And then the next stream will likely be on Tuesday, and that will likely be, it should be, as long as nothing crazy happens, and I have power and everything. I mean, those things are right now with the weather. But it should be that the grading of the stuff is probably done, but you'll probably see all the tanks first when we show the videos that people submitted and or the pictures that people submitted. So we'll go through any tank that had pictures and video submitted. If they have a video, we'll play the video. If they don't, we'll just quickly go through the slides. That will probably be Tuesday's show at 4 p.m. Was that thunder? Thunder and lightning starting right now, which obviously I got hit by it once, so my wife kind of gets a little uptight about it. But then the next stream, so probably, and we'll probably do a midweek stream instead of just the 2 streams. And the next stream will then be maybe the winner. We'll maybe do that on Friday or Thursday, and then either Friday or Saturday. I'll post it to the community section once I talk to all 3 of my judges, and once we've gotten it done. But then we'll have also feedback session, like the 3rd video or 3rd session will be going through and picking some ones we like, or some ones where people said it was okay to talk through, like what we thought of theirs, or how it could be a little better, or what would be interesting, or a substitute that you could switch out. Just some general information that may help you guys in the future. Even if it's not your scape at all, you may say, oh, I didn't know that plant had the exact same living conditions as the plant that you just suggested, things like that. So I have not sued Zeus yet. I wish that Thor or Zeus or one of those guys would be a little more responsible for their actions. But in the meantime, I'll just keep trying to figure out who to talk to at Dr. Pepper. They have an online section that's like, if you want a sponsorship for 100,000 or more, go here. If you want it for $50 or less, go here. If you want it for 1,000 or less, go here. I'm like, I just want to talk to somebody. Isn't there some person that sits in a room and decides what happens? Or is it all like AI and forms? Like, I don't know. All right, guys. So I'm gonna tootie-loo, and it's been a pleasure having you and you and you and you were there and you were there. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah, hit by lightning. That's so hard to say. Lightning sothelioma. There's no way you can say that smoothly. Lightning sothelioma instead of mesothelioma. You may be entitled to financial compensation from God. Yes, I agree. That's why I have to get these janky teeth fixed. God, you owe me teeth. Well, I guess you gave me teeth in the first. Okay, never mind. We're even. I guess you can take them away. I guess that's how that works. All right, guys, well, have a great night. Thanks for spending some time with me. And if you've got a picture of you and your aquarium putzing about, watching the show, whatever, feel free, and you're drinking that Dr. Pepper, feel free to send me a picture on one of the social medias, in the Facebook group or in the Instagram. Maybe we can build up a sponsorship. Maybe they'll just be like, here's $100 a show to spend on cool fish to show everyone. or here's money that I can turn into gift cards to give you guys for nothing just because I want to give out more prizes. All right, guys, I'm going to call that a night. We'll talk to you soon, and it should be Aquascape contest next and for the next few episodes after this. I'll probably release some episodes also in the meantime this week, but I'm not promising anything because we're grading all the stuff. But definitely YouTube's taking a hit, so if you want to watch some of the old videos, I'd much appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye.